Living the dream. This is the outside gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network. We're talking US Moto, anywhere the conversation goes. Joining us today from Racer X, from Start Your Systems, and from the new show, More Than Moto, it's Kellen Brauer. Welcome to the show, Kellen.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate the call or the message, I should say, to have me on the show. And yeah, excited to talk a little bit moto today.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So, I was just saying to Kellen, I like his story. So, yeah, anybody that knows me or has watched the show, you know by now that that I love the stories of life, stories of people and people in moto. And I sort of briefly I know Kellen from when he first started coming on, Pulp and appearing on Racer X things, and that he was a big guy in gaming. I used to ask my son, because my son's a big gamer. I used to say to him, because I'm big on moto, he's big into gaming, and we don't sort of have the same interests. And I used to always say to him, "Do you know Kellen? Kellen's this guy who's really big in gaming." And he sort of look at me because he's into more war games and cowboy
Yeah.
games and shoot 'em up games rather than moto games. So he didn't know you, but it was a bit of a running joke. I was like, "Dude, you got to follow Kellen. He's big in gaming, you know." So I sort of knew a bit about you with that, and yeah, man, you live in the dream. Young bloke working for Racer X. That's so cool. So yeah, I love the story and want to hear more about it. So, dude, you live in California? Yeah. See, I thought you were living on the East Coast like the other Racer X guys, but yeah, I guess so.
No, yeah, I mean that's like a weird thing that I run into a lot. Is I've been in California from the start, and I run into all these people out here, and every time I introduce myself as obviously Kellen from Racer X, they're like, "Oh, so you're in from West Virginia today?" And I'm like, "Nope, nope, just drove down the 5 freeway or whatever, and here I am." So quite funny, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I guess nowadays, so many things are just done remote. Like you don't, you don't have to call into the office and catch up with Davey and Weege and all that, do you? Yeah, yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, I
And yeah,
mean,
yeah. No, sorry. Yeah,
no, I was gonna say, yeah, our most of our team is remote. Even Weege doesn't work from the Racetracks office. He lives in North Carolina, and my coworker Mitch does go into the office occasionally, but we have people kind of scattered all over. Our video guys in Philly, and then some people are in West Virginia at the office. So definitely a mixed bag.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool, man. And you're married with kids, I believe.
Yeah, just one kid. But yes, married for 5 years now, and our daughter's 3. And yeah, just living the dream, like you said.
How old are you, dude?
I am 30.
You're 30. You look younger. You probably get
I
that a lot. Yeah.
I do get that a lot, and this week on the LVK podcast, as you alluded to,
Mm.
Lewis was shocked to find out that I am 30 or in my 30s, as we talked about. He thought I was younger than him as well, so even he doesn't know.
It's a good thing, man. It might have annoyed you because I was the same. That might have annoyed you um, so far in your life, but you'll get it back on the other end. Like because I remember getting asked for ID to buy cigarettes when I was 29. That was the last time I got asked because I was such a baby face, And but now I'm nearly, I'm inching towards 50, and people still think I'm like in my 30s, So
Yeah.
I get it, I'm getting it back now. I've got a good mate of mine was one of these guys who had a beard in high school,
Mm.
and now he looks a lot older than me. And he said to me a while back, he said like, dude, you suck. And I was like, but dude, like I was I was the bloke who looked like a little boy when I was 25. So and you had a beard and you were bench pressing 350 pounds in 10th grade, so like you can't have it both ends of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, we better talk about before we get into your story. Just talk about a couple of relevant things, man. The weather's looking ominous for San Diego. Hey,
Yeah, it doesn't look great, but I stand by that. San Diego always kind of throws curveballs. Like I mean, we grew up with the joke of us. I'm from San Diego originally, and we joke up that the weathermen down there didn't really have to do anything other than just say, "Hey, it's sunny and 75 again today." And even days that it would be predicted to rain when I was growing up, it would sprinkle maybe a little bit, and then it would just move on, and we would have just a little bit of dampness. So I'm going to stand by that it's not going to be as bad as it might look. And it kind of looks like it wouldn't even start until the night show anyway. So that also will help the track, I think, stay in reasonably good condition, only maybe get really bad by the main events. But fingers crossed that we don't have another mutter this week. I'm good with the one that we had this past weekend.
Yeah, we don't want too many, like it was, yeah, it's okay to have one now and again. Like I'm not going to lie, I liked how it tightened the points up.
Hmm.
Instead of, we don't, I keep saying to people, I'm very torn. I feel like I'm a bad Australian because it's pretty awesome to have a young Aussie winning everything. But even more so than that, I love the sport and I love I want to see battles. I want it, I don't want a tear away winner. So yeah, that it certainly tightened it up and that was good. But yeah, you don't want too
Yeah.
many mutters. Yeah, that's for
Yeah, I
sure, man.
mean, just for the simple sake that I don't want now that we have had one and the points are close, if we have this one and one of those guys has a DNF this weekend, suddenly it's not close. So yeah,
Yeah,
keep it tidy and just like you, I want good battles and make this championship last as long as we can have it.
yeah, yeah. And being a guy who loves the story, I love the story of an underdog or Eli, coming back. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of stories I like that rather than like Jet's going to win heaps. He's going to have his chance. I want one of the old blokes, or Ando or someone of the old blokes to step it up and do something this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool, man. So how does tell me? So let's get into your story. So how does it start? So like, I guess what I usually talk about when the bug first bites.
Yeah.
When you first saw racing or got a mini bike or whatever. When did that bug for moto bite?
Yeah, I I got into motocross and supercross before I ever really got on a dirt bike because my dad grew up doing it, obviously, and he started showing me like old VHS tapes when I was young of races in the early '90s, late '80s, and stuff like that. And then he took me to my first ever supercross when I was still 4. It was the '98 LA Coliseum Supercross, and yeah, I feel like from kind of that moment on, I was hooked. Like this is cool. It's really loud. That was my biggest takeaway from the first few that I went to, and I would always have to wear some soundproof headphones. But yeah, I just love the experience and the smells and the track and seeing what those guys could do on motorcycles. So I was hooked, and that led into getting a dirt bike myself and getting into racing and riding. And I think I entered my first race when I was 8 or 9 or so, and raced for about a decade, and kind of realized in that span when I was getting into my teenage years that I wasn't going to be good enough to go pro, but I think I could, still add value to the sport in other ways, and kind of, I have a little bit of a family history with my uncle, my grandpa, some other family members that are journalists or have writing backgrounds, and so I got into journalism classes when I was like 14, 15 years old, and just started writing and became the editor in chief of my newspaper at my high school and things like that. Just kind of getting the bug of writing and interviewing and all that stuff like that, with the intention that I think that that's something that I could also do in moto, even though I'm not going to end up racing professionally, be around the sport and be involved and stuff like that. So, yeah, just kind of got into that, and it slowly built into finding some success I worked for Verb Moto for a while, and then obviously started Start Your Systems, and that was really popular as well, and just kind of built up to a spot where I could get a job at Racer X and yeah, kind of live the dream out.
That's the way. What was the first bike?
First bike was a PW80. It
Nice.
was like probably like a decade old when I got it, and it was a hand me down from 2 other people before that. But yeah, I rode the wheels off of that thing. I often got the throttle stuck on it, which I heard was a pretty common issue with the PW80s. And there was a few times that I would just pin it off the track until I hit a fence. But I'd always pick it up with a smile on my face and keep riding. So yeah, it was a good bike. I liked it.
That's the way. That's the way. Yeah. I thought you were going to say PW50 for a sec there, which is like is like
I was a little tall.
nearly everyone's answer, you know,
Yeah.
like yeah, especially like people your age is nearly it was nearly always a PW50. Mine was an XR75, which is nearly everyone's first bike from people my age. So yeah,
When did
but
you
yeah.
get into it? When was your first time riding?
I was about I'm not sure exactly. I was about 10 years old.
Okay. Yep.
So yeah, just the brief version is so my dad was race cars and from the moment there was a boy out, you know, because I'm the only boy of four sisters, like this kid's going to be a car racer, you know, and he read a book where a famous driver said that riding trail bikes benefited him as a driver.
Mm.
So the next day the XR75 arrived. Only problem for dad, and I did race cars a little bit. The only problem for dad is I love the motorbikes more than the cars. So
Yeah.
he sort of lost me in that move as well. But geez, I'm glad he did. Yeah,
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 it's a bug that's hard to scratch or to itch really once you get it, man. It bites you and you just
yeah.
hang on for dear life at that point.
You either have it, it either bites or it doesn't it? Yeah,
Mhm.
I think even people who've I've got mates who don't ride anymore, and it's more sort of they they've got a wife and family and all that, and they think they've got to be more responsible and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I'm sure I'm still sure that bug's still biting them, But
Oh, yeah.
for most people, they're in it for life. Once you love it, there's nothing. It's like people don't understand, do they? It's like oxygen. You got to be
Mhm.
around it. You got to do it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what's cool about this sport, man, is like, I mean, my dad raced until he's 67 years old now, and he raced up until a couple years ago. He was still out there getting after it. So it's cool to see the old guys that, I grew up watching and stuff like that still going out there and doing motos. And you go to Loretta's and you see the Brownies and the John Grueys and stuff like that pounding out laps. It's awesome that from 4 to 70, you got skill sets of all size and guys still going after it and kind of chasing their dreams a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. It just warms my heart when I see, that the older the better. Like I'd love to do more, but I've done a few it's like vintage races, and
Mhm.
yeah, you get some guys there that turn up that are, you don't ask their age, but you can tell they're pretty old because our vintage racing, we don't have any age classes. There's not enough of us to do it, so it's
Yeah.
more it's bike classes. But yeah, I've seen some guys, and I'm like, damn, you're a fucking legend, like they'll drag out. I've seen guys out there, and they've dragged out like the yellow and black leathers that they wore in the early 70s, when they're
Mhm.
riding. And I just love the fact that they've got that passion for it still.
Mhm.
It's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Yeah. So, dude, having the what you were saying about having that direction so young, that in high school you led towards journalism with a mind to getting into moto journalism. That's pretty cool and unusual, man. Like, not a lot of like I'm 40, I'm nearly 48, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So it's like a lot of kids don't have that sort of direction for you to really. And not like, I mean, I've just met you, but I'm pretty sure that you're living, the right path in life that you were supposed to by just how happy you are and how engaged you are in what you're doing. So that's pretty cool and pretty lucky and pretty impressive to have that sort of direction so young, man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, I feel like for me, it was so much of, I grew up reading magazines and Motocross Action, Racer X, and Cycle News and stuff like that. And you just kind of get ingrained with the personalities, which I feel like there's even maybe going to be more coming soon of guys that grew up listening to Steve and JT and Weege and now the more podcasts like you and stuff like that, that uh, it's just kind of like part of their life to know that motocross media is another outlet where they can kind of share their passion a little bit. And for me, like I said, I knew I wasn't going to be good enough to go professional. It really was kind of like for me an idea of how can I be involved in something that I love so much, even if I don't get to race it at the highest level or something like that. I still want to be involved. I want to be around, and and see the bikes and all this stuff like that. So, yeah, I think from a young age, it was just like, man, I just want to be a part of it in any way possible. And if this is a way to get in, then I'm going to go for it, you know?
Yeah, cool, cool. Nah, I reckon that's awesome. So how did you get the job at Racer X?
The Racer X job was so I'd worked at Verb for 5 years from like 2012 to 2017, and they actually shut their doors in 2017. And I was one of the last people that was still kind of hanging on there, and got a couple opportunities to like go to Europe and work MXGPs. It didn't take that, and then interviewed with Transworld and Racer X back then, and neither of those really kind of worked out. I would have had to move to West Virginia to work for Racer X back then, and Weege tells me to this day, he's like, no chance some California kid would have stayed in West Virginia. So that's why he didn't hire me then. But yeah, so I kind of got out of the industry a little bit, ended up working in search engine optimization for websites and stuff for a little while, and kept after with the start your system stuff. So still doing the gaming things, and started going to events and traveling around and interviewing people. So I kind of built a little bit of a reputation as a guy that like could do this other media side of it as well. And it turns out that Weege's son watched my videos. Like he was kind of a fan of Start Your Systems, and through his son watching it, I guess Weege one day just started watching it as well and was like, "Who is this guy? Like he talks about the sport, he does these interviews and stuff like that while he plays video games." And he's like, "Wait a minute, this is a guy we've already interviewed, and he's already applied to our company a few times. Let me call him again and see if he'd be interested in working for us." And yeah, I was into it. So he kind of called me out of the blue one day, or really emailed me out of the blue and then called me, and we just talked it out and tried to figure out if something would work for me to come work for Racer X. And within a couple weeks, I think it was a done deal, and moved back into the sport pretty, I guess, seamlessly in that regard.
Cool, man. What was your very first thing at Racer X? Your first like story or video or whatever? What was the first thing you did?
The first thing that I really remember doing was that was right as Michael Lindsay had started his FXR Chaparral Honda team. And I was already kind of tight with Jerry Robin because he played video games, and we were close. So I'm like, let me just reach out to him and see if we could do something about the team and do a little kind of privateer story for my first week there. So I went and shot like a bunch of these photos for him and Justin Starling and Cody Shock on that team, and met their team manager out there. And I think they ended up using a lot of my photos for some of their team stuff as well. But that was kind of the first story that I did, and interviewed all of them, and we wrote a big piece about what their program is going to look like and how things are going to work and everything like that. And I actually just talked to that same team manager this past weekend in San Francisco, and he was just telling me like, I still remember that first day you walked out there and you're just like, what's going on? How do we get this dialed in and all this stuff? And now I'm walking around the pits. Sometimes I guess like I own it a little bit, but
Like a
like a
pro.
pro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a sharp learning curve. But yeah, so that was kind of like the first real big story I did.
Yeah, cool, man. Do you fanboy when you meet people, that you haven't met before in the pits and that sort of thing?
I definitely for guys that I grew up watching. I think like a little bit more of this younger generation is kind of, I still think of them as, supreme athletes and super talented and stuff like that, but they're obviously like kind of behind my generation of idolization. So,
Yeah.
um, when I've met like Jeremy McGrath and Jeff Stanton and guys like that, that's where I'm like, okay, hi, good to meet you and stuff like that, and quickly try to tighten it up and do the proper interview or whatever. But it's definitely guys like that that you grow up watching that it's hard to get past the stardom just a little bit.
Yeah, I imagine it would be, man. Yeah, like I'm not like I've met Aussie stars, but I've virtually not met any US ones. But I don't really fanboy sort of much ever. But I always say that I think if I met MC or RJ, I would definitely get a little bit I'd get a little bit giddy. I think
Yeah,
I'd be a little bit, white girl at the Taylor Swift concert, like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it'd definitely get me tongue tied. I think, yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
Mm.
And with your racing, man, so you said you did race for a little while. What's your like most memorable race, or it doesn't have to be your best result of it. What's a real racing memory that sticks with you?
Honestly, it was probably the first race I ever did, which was Day in the Dirt, which has kind of become like a bit of a popular event. We have one in SoCal. There's also one in Florida. And yeah, just like the experience of going down to the line the first time with my dad, I still hold that pretty valuable to my memory. And seeing all the guys on the gate. And then because that event is kind of a big deal, like being my first ever race, you have like sponsor banners everywhere. And obviously, like there are some kind of good riders that are just on the fence line watching and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was kind of like a bit of a starstruck moment for me. And at the same time, trying to enjoy just being on a dirt bike at a young age like that. But I just remember racing that and coming off the track. And I think I got 10th or something out of 24 and high fiving my dad. And I really hold that as something that like, I'm glad I remember that moment and I can still hold that as a valuable memory for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love stuff like that. And what about? I'll bet you remember the first crash. What was the first crash? Was it like whiskey into a fence, like most people, or?
Well, like I said, when I rode that PW80, it just the throttle seemed to stuck like every other time I went riding. And maybe one of the most memorable ones that I have is I was riding the little 80cc track at Lake Elsinore Motorsports Park out here, and the throttle stuck going through a sweeper. And it was one of the first or second times it ever happened. Eventually, I learned like, okay, brake, don't panic or whatever. But this happened this one time, and I just shut my eyes, like I didn't even know what was going on. I was freaking out and ended up going like across the track and hitting like T-boning the back tire of a kid going the other way. And we both flew and cartwheeled and stuff like that. And I just was laying there with my eyes closed, like, when is it going to stop? When is it going to stop? And then my dad got to me and I was okay. And we picked it up and carried on and kept riding that day. But I, I remember just thinking, like, this isn't fun. I don't like this feeling of not knowing where the bike is going or what I'm doing. So I pretty quickly tried to learn how to control things from that, but obviously we all still hit the ground from time to time and still the same feeling. Still not fun when it's going down and you know it's coming at you.
Do you ride much nowadays?
Not too much because our weekend schedules are so busy,
Mm.
so I don't get to go out on the weekends. Really, the only times I get to ride is going out during the weekdays with our test guy Chris Kiefer. And every time I go, he's like, "Bring gear, you got to ride." So I get a chance to ride maybe a couple motos when I go out there, but um, I think, like you said, I try to tame it down a little bit. Obviously, I want to stay healthy so that I can still type and write and get around and everything like that. But also, I mean, I don't really have any aspirations of going pro or anything like that. I'm not trying to impress Roger DeCoster out here. So just go
Mm.
out and have a good time and cruise around and come back safe every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you pass that. You probably already passed that. Being a dad, past that section where that time where you need to prove yourself on a track. It's
Hmm.
just go and have fun. Like, I don't take any risks, man. Like, I just like, my favorite track is just this little country track here in Victoria, and it's like it's all tabletops and big berms, and just it's all it's like all low risk stuff. Like
Yep.
there's no no you can't sort of under jump anything, you can't really over jump anything. It's all just good fun track, and I just like pounding laps, man, to keep fit on the bike, because I feel good when I jump on a bike and I feel fit on it.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, it's a freaking great way to work out. Works
yeah,
out
yeah.
damn near every muscle in your body.
Yeah, I'm still like the little kid that rides till he runs out of fuel. Like
Yeah.
on the first one out there when they say the track's open, and on the last one when they got to throw the checkers on me on a ride day, man, to pull in. So I'm just like keep going,
Yeah,
yeah, I love it. Still
that's great.
just absolutely love it, man. Yeah, that's the go, dude. So yeah, Lake Elsinore, man. Quick story. From me, I so went to Anaheim one just recently,
Mhm.
and afterwards I was still there for a couple of days, and I wanted to go around and just check out the other tracks. Most of them I knew they were going to be closed, or I thought they were going to be closed, and I just wanted to go and have a look over the fence. And when I got to Elsinore, the gate's like half open. It said it was
Uh-huh.
going to be closed. The gate's like half open. So, being the type of dude I am, I just drove straight in, and I happened across like a pro test day So here I am, this Aussie tourist in a rented minivan, and I pull up, and I'm like, wow! So I'll grab my camera out, and I was walking around taking photos of Jason Anderson and Dylan Ferrandis and all this sort of thing. So man, I'll tell you, that was pretty cool and pretty lucky that I decided to go and check out Elsinore. Like the main reason I wanted to go to Elsinore was um, even just the town. I'm a big On Any Sunday fan, so I'm a product of On Any Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's the famous town in On Any Sunday, the Elsinore Grand
Yeah.
Prix, Malcolm Smith. So just even going to the town was cool, and then going out to the track and happening across that, and I was like, oh my. And there was like a video guy there. I reckon he worked for Monster because he was taking following Ando and the PC bikes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There was one photographer with a proper big camera, and then little old me wandering around with me secondhand camera with I was like, but geez, that was a fun experience that happened to me, man. Yeah.
That's cool. Did you get a chance to like go into Elsinore town a little bit and see where the start finish line is for the GP and all that stuff like that, or see the trails up on the hills that they ride on and all that?
I looked around. I was looking everywhere. Head was on a swivel, looking everywhere, and that
Yeah.
I wasn't able to sort of figure out, anything in particular where the race would have gone or anything like that. I wasn't able to figure out any of that. But yeah, I drove around there a fair bit. Had a look at the lake and drove around the town a bit and all that sort of thing. And then obviously the track and had some breakfast there and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I went on quite a few adventures while I was over there. Did a fair few pretty cool things. So it was certainly was a trip of a lifetime for me. That's for sure. So
Yeah, I can imagine, especially like you, like in that Any Sunday movie, you must have just been looking at the hillsides like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing that and this, and yeah, it must just felt like you're in the movie for a minute, right?
yes, man. Like it was amazing. Like I grew up, I guess a bit like you were talking before. You grew up reading, so I love to write, and the main reason I love to write is because I grew up reading, particularly Rick Simon, Super Hunky,
Yep.
and Tom Webb. Those two in particular. I would wait patiently for Dirt Bike magazine to arrive like 2 months late. It was about 6 weeks late. And yeah, I would read every word of even the ads, like the whole lot. But my favorite thing was always the writings, the stories of those guys, and they'd be talking about, trail riding in the desert and all that sort of thing, all that sort of SoCal scene, and
Mhm.
also made me a big fan of Jim Holly because he was the dude doing the wild shit in Dirt Bike magazine. So yeah.
Still to this day, he is, so he
Yeah,
hasn't changed
that's
much.
right. No, he's definitely a hero of mine, man. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, cool. And like I checked out Glen Helen and Paris and Parla and
Did you get a chance to ride it all? You gotta ride these tracks a little bit too, right?
nah. Honestly, I had a chance to maybe ride Glen Helen.
Mhm.
I met up with a mate out there, like you would know, Toolman Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
Dan Colvin. So I met him
Oh, yeah.
out at Glen Helen and that. There was a bit of talking me riding, but like I couldn't take the risk. And that was before A1. That was on the week before. I
Mhm.
couldn't take the risk. I'm just thinking, imagine if I break a bone or something, because I'm a pretty ordinary rider. I ride a lot and I've ridden a long time, but I'm an ordinary rider. Imagine if I have a crash and I'm sitting in a hospital instead of getting to A1 like my life's dream,
Yeah.
So I thought better of it. And then, but yeah, but it was okay. Like I hope to get back over there one day and get a ride in then, But this one was really about, like I'd never been to the US, never been to a Supercross bigger than Melbourne Supercross,
Mhm.
So the dream was to get to A1. That was sort of the goal of the trip, and I was happy just to drive around those tracks and have a look at them, So
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to steal your podcast, but what did you think of A1? Like, as a guy that you probably built it up for so many years, like, what was it like?
Man, no worries about. Like I said to you before, this show goes off in tangents all
No,
over the
I
place.
know.
It's totally organic, but A1, man, it was a dream come true. Like the the racing aside, so it was pretty flat for an A1. Yeah, the racing was, especially the 450 main. It was sort of like Jet got out to a lead, and everyone was sort of like, "Oh, that's all over now." The 450 main was a bit flat, but the experience of being there, walking in the stadium, like I've been lost for words, maybe twice in my adult life. And the second time was walking into the stadium. I was walking in with a couple of friends, and they're like, "Steve, you're finally here." The cut like everyone else, everyone I met there to go there with was all Americans, and I was like, I had no words, and I
Yeah,
was like,
that's so
I
cool.
couldn't, I couldn't talk. I was just like grinning and nodding my head, and so that was just amazing, yeah.
I love
And
that.
yeah, because obviously that's the t-shirt there that I was. So I'm a huge fan of Main Event Moto. And I was part of we had sort of a Main Event Moto gathering there where we all sat
So
sat in.
were you part of the Daniel Blair crew that sat
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the
the sense
511 section? There you go.
511. That's it. I was part of the 511 crew. There was about 70 of us, so
Oh my gosh,
all
what a
with all
party.
all wearing that t-shirt and all that sort of thing. So it was a whole thing. It was actually Daniel Blair who finally talked me into going, because
Yeah, yeah.
it was always like, "Oh, I can't afford it, and that sort of thing." And anyway, in the end, I made it happen and got over there, and it was unbelievable. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. I love that. That's so great.
there's what I'll do. I wrote a story about it for the Moto Heads.
Mhm.
I'll send you that story. That'll give you a good insight
Yeah.
onto what the trip sort of meant to me.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Keen to read that. That's great.
yeah, so it was pretty amazing. Leave the wife and kids at home, but they were like, my wife and kids are amazing like that. They're just like, you know, honey or dad, this is your fucking dream. Like, why are you even asking us? Go do it. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was amazing, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, tell me more about. So I'm old guy. Like I said to you earlier, I don't know much about gaming, man. So this will make you laugh. I can remember the rich kid at school. So I went to a little school in a country town in Australia, and like he wasn't that rich, but his dad was the local judge at the courthouse. So
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and they had a bit nicer car and a bit bigger house, and that they certainly weren't rich, but he was more well off than most of us.
Yeah.
And I remember going to his house for a birthday party, probably about you know third grade 3, as you guys would say. And he had an Atari, and
Oh.
Atari was new, and we were playing Pac-Man, and it was like, so that's some grassroots of gaming for
Yeah.
you. That was like, wow, what is this thing?
Mhm. Mhm.
And then we would have little kids at school. We had those first little tiny, and they're worth a fortune now. I wish I'd have kept it. Those tiny little Nintendos, the first ones, tiny
The
little things,
yeah, the Game Boys, yeah.
little black and white screen. I had one where it was Mickey Mouse collecting chickens' eggs, and I was pretty good at that. And I've looked up what that's worth now. They're worth a fortune if I kept it and it was in good
Mhm.
condition. So,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, in general, man, I was always a kid and an adult that like I struggle to sit down for too long. Like
Yeah.
I'm like um, I've got to keep mobile, so I never sort of got into the gaming. But yeah,
Yeah.
my young fella though, he has autism, and he's had a lot of big struggles in life, and a lot of his life he's spent a lot of his life gaming, getting away from the world in his own little world
Yeah.
of games. And that's a long story, but so I know bits and pieces about what he's into. But yeah, he's never sort of played any sort of moto games. It's always like, oh, what's his I asked him. Told him you were coming on the show.
Like Fortnite or Call of Duty
His
or
his favorite game ever. Oh, he's played both of them, but his favorite game ever is Red Dead Redemption 2.
okay. Yep, yep.
He loves that. That's like
Yeah.
the best. and at the moment he's playing Baldur's Gate 3. So
Okay.
that's,
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, man. But so back to where I was. So you were like commentating um, gaming races. Is that's what Start Your Systems does?
Yeah, so Start Your Systems, it's one of the things that we do. Start Your Systems is really kind of like I guess you could call it a little bit of like a news or information platform for motocross video games.
Yeah.
We post up videos about, you know, what's new in the gaming world with these types of games, or what new tracks are available, or things like that. We do tutorial videos about how to get better at these like simulation type of video games as well. So really the videos that we post are kind of our bread and butter, but for 12 years now, it's called MX Simulator. It's a video game where it's like kind of the closest, I guess, to simulation physics that we have in terms of a dirt bike video game. There's another new one called MX Bikes that a lot of people play, and it's also quite good. But that one, they have like a replica series of Supercross and Motocross, and they also do MXGP, and they do some of their own custom series and stuff like that. And I raced professionally in the game from 12 to 2018 or so. But since 2012, I've been one of the lead commentators as well. And so when I started Start Your Systems, they pretty quickly brought our company in as, hey, like you're good at it. The broadcasts that you do are good, so let's keep it rolling with that. So yeah, we've been broadcasting their professional Supercross and Motocross series for 9 years now, on our ninth year right now. And yeah, every week we call those races. It's a myriad of gamers from around the world. We've had champions from France and Australia, and obviously the USA. And um, it's really kind of cool to see this mixed bag of young MX or motocross fans, and they are so into the sport that they, dedicate a lot of time to be really good at this video game and kind of get their names out there that way. So like even guys like I'm sure you've heard of like Matt Burkeen, he's won a championship in the game. There's another privateer named Logan Leitzel that races Supercross, and he's won a championship in the game. And Jeremy Smith, who's another privateer, he's my teammate on one of the teams that we run for the game too. So there's a lot of people that are super involved in it, super into it. And yeah, I've just been kind of the lead broadcast guy. Some people call me the weege of motocross video games, I guess. But yeah, just kind of call these races and have fun with it, and yeah, just have a little bit of fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, like it's kind of what I envision. Yeah, I won't try and say that word again. It's kind of what I thought
Yeah.
you were doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah, it's definitely a different world to someone of my generation. I reckon the last game I played um for any length of time was like Mortal Kombat 2. Me and my mates used to have a few beers
Yeah.
and play that sometimes. And the last game I played of any kind, though, I took my son when he was only a little bloke. I took him to a birthday party that was like at a big gaming thing. They had bowling, laser tag, machines, air hockey, everything. To a mate's birthday party, and we got there early, and we jumped on a couple of Daytona machines that were linked up. And
Yeah.
the first race, I took off, and then he caught me like easily, and so I crashed him into a wall, won the race, and retired undefeated. So that was
There you
just like,
go.
so I
Went out
still
on
say to
top.
him, "Remember, Dad's the Daytona champion." So that was because I knew I was going to get my ass kicked at that. I said, "Let's play air hockey instead, something I can win." So.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was no no good at stuff like that. But yeah, 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 cool, cool.
Yeah, the video games for me was, going back to my childhood. And like I said, it was, I went to racing and watched racing before I ever even got on a dirt bike. But when I got to the age where I was riding and sometimes racing, you come home at the end of the day, and I would put on like these bar to bar VHS tapes, or, the Crusty Demons of Dirt. I would just wear those VHS
Mm.
tapes out. And when I would get sick of that, I'd be like, all right, well, now I want more. Like, I'll go play a video game that has something to do with dirt bikes or whatever. Like, I just couldn't scratch the itch ever. And so got really into motocross video games and was playing Supercross the games back then and Jeremy McGrath Supercross 98. And my parents used to always say, like, "Ah, you're playing those games too much." But now that I got a company that's centered around it, they're kind of flipped the other way and they're like, "Oh, good thing that you learned all about those games so you can talk about them these days." But yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like I just couldn't get enough, man. I just wanted more moto in my life every single second of the day.
yeah. I understand, your parents like I used to give my young bloke a hard time, and because I'm so bloody old school. Like my kids still can't believe that I'm doing this, that I learned
Mhm.
how to run a podcast and I can edit audio and all this sort of thing. They just laugh all the time because it's not that long ago I was still clinging to my flip phone because I couldn't get the hang of a touchscreen, So like, I've come a long way, but I've really learnt from my kids a lot of stuff, and I'm not as much of a old school get off my lawn type of guy as I used to be when I was 15 years younger. But nah, it's like I used to give him a bit of a hard time and that, but like he's learnt heaps, man. Like he struggled with school and all that sort of thing, and him getting into the workforce ever is always going to be a struggle and that sort of thing. But like a couple of Christmases back there, he was just like, I don't want anything. I want some money because I want to build my own computer. And he's never learnt had any training or anything on that. And I was like, "Oh, what do you need?" And that. So we gave him some money and he just bought all these parts. He borrowed a couple of screwdrivers and he built his own big gaming computer. He's got this dungeon, I call it the dungeon with the screens and the big computer and
Yep.
all that. And he'll buy new parts and he'll borrow a screwdriver and he'll put them in and all this. He's learned how to do all this sort of stuff, you know, just through gaming and watching shows about gaming, and
Yeah.
he watched podcasts about gaming and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there is, it's not all bad. There is benefits to it, So
Yeah,
uh,
well, I mean, to that point, like when I got a computer and started gaming on a computer, like I learned so much about things that you can do on a computer, like that I never would have known or learned or anything like that. Like all video editing that I do and photo editing and everything was completely self-taught. Like I didn't go to school for video or photo. I went to school for journalism and broadcasting and stuff like that. And all the filming and stuff I do now was just me sitting down and tinkering with all these different programs and stuff like that. And uh, I definitely, you know, looking back on it, I'm really glad that I got into it the way that I did because for me, it was just like this natural, like wanting to learn more instead of being told it. If you get told to do something, sometimes you're not as inclined to stay committed to learning a program or learning software or whatever like that. But because I was so interested in
mm,
getting to know it better, now I feel like I'm a lot better of a more versatile journalist because of it as well. So definitely recommended.
I think like you say, like you're obviously a fairly driven person. I think driven people need to make their own mind up to do something. I think anyone that's
Yeah,
if you're really driven, you're not so good at being told what to do.
right.
You want to, you need to want to do it.
Yeah.
And then you're all in and you learn and that sort of thing. So yeah, that definitely makes sense, man. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Um, what's your favorite part? The absolute favorite part of your job?
Whew, that is tough to pick one thing because there's definitely a lot of stuff that's really great. I mean, I think like being able to I guess like take all of this information that we get from a weekend and craft it into these storylines about riders or about the series or something like that in a creative and new way, and it's not just cut and dry from fact to point or whatever like that. Maybe put a little spin on it, which as a journalist, we don't try to veer too much from the facts, but at least be able to tell good stories and convey that to audiences and then receive the feedback that they're excited to hear more about and stuff like that. Like this week, for example, I got a chance to like really properly meet and do a story on Slade Varola, who made his first ever 250 SX main event. And like things you just don't even know or wouldn't learn unless you sit down and talk to him and learn more about him. Like he's dating Jeremy McGrath's daughter, and
Oh,
that's kind of a
really?
wild story. Yeah, like
Wow.
and things
Yeah.
like that. And he's had like a really kind of quick rise from super mini to getting on a 250, and didn't have the success in that transition that most of the top kids do, but now he's a main event guy and he's on a good program with HBI. So again, just like taking all of that information and being able to turn it into something that you get out in front of the public and share those stories with them, and then the reception of that is like, I didn't know that, or that's cool, like this is a really interesting read. I just love that about it, like being able to really, drive the sport in new ways like that of getting, like I said, just great stories about these athletes and the series and all that stuff out there that maybe we didn't know about before.
I love it, man. Yeah, you're talking my language there, man. Like I love the story, yeah. So that no, that really makes a lot of sense to me that you like that. Like just makes me think a little thing about myself. So I was writing articles for the Moto Limited guys. You've probably met the Moto
Mhm.
Limited guys,
Yeah,
Nick and
yeah.
Chet.
They've been to my house.
Oh, cool. Yeah, mates of mine, great blokes. So Moto Limited's no more, or at least on a long hiatus. We never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I was writing articles for them, and we tried a few different things. And when I write, I am it's got to be pretty creative, sort of from the heart, sort of stuff. And at one stage, we tried me writing just race reports, like
Mhm.
quick race reports after the race. And it just didn't go well. Like my heart just wasn't there to write this quick, right. And I did it, and they were professional and they were neat. But I remember Trent saying to me, dude, like, it's not you. It doesn't sound like you're writing anymore because it's just
Yeah.
too much. You're breaking news and information. That's not who you are. Go, why don't we go back to just you doing creative stories about things that are happening in the scene.
Yeah.
And I went back to that, and straight away I was just bang, I'm just writing stuff again, and it just flows out of your fingers.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I get that. I think there's different things for different people in the there's some dudes that are great at the news breaking and the you know putting the reports down straight after the race, and so just giving information really quickly and succinct and all that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a place for all that, and I think the viewer, the consumer, there's different ones too. Some people just want to see the bullet points of exactly how it went down, the results,
Mhm.
bang, who was injured, who did what, blah, 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 blah. And some
Yeah.
people want to read a bit of a story about what happened. So yeah, that's
Yeah, I
really
mean, like, I think, like, all of us that grow up watching motocross and supercross, like, we're always looking for, like, new and fun information to track with a story. And, like, I remember interviewing Prado this offseason and getting kind of the little backstory about why he's so interested in supercross. It's one thing to wanna come over and race it, if you're in it for the money or whatever, but, to hear him say, like, "No, I just, I grew up watching supercross at home, and the idea of racing under the lights and stuff like that," like, getting that information from him and being able to, let the public see that this is just a kid like all any of us, that like you coming to Anaheim for the first time and being left speechless. He's in the same boat. Like he
yeah,
wants to race this because he feels that same way about Supercross. And yeah, just getting information like that is awesome. I love it.
yeah. Now I've heard young Aussies say the same thing several many
Hmm.
times. About how they that dream of America and doing a race just to get there and do one race to try and qualify for one outdoor or one supercross. And that is just
Yeah.
like this amazing live stream thing to just about every kid that's had any success or half success in Australia. That's sort of, it's the North Star,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, for them. So I can see, Prado, little kid in Spain looking at the US Supercross. Like it's
Yeah. And I mean, like, look at how much that heat race meant to him to win it, and they
yeah,
showed it on the broadcast, and him coming back and hugging the family and everything like that. Like, he's a world champion, and he looks like any other kid that's out there living the dream and being able to experience that for the first time. Like, that's cool. I like that.
yeah, it's super cool. He seems like I don't, and not through not wanting to. It's really just a cost thing. I don't follow the MXGP, although I'm gonna try to this year. It's just like we got to pay for TV packages.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you sort of sometimes you get to, because I'm a NFL fan as well, so I pay for the NFL. I pay for I used to pay for the motocross and the supercross in the NFL. That was like me three for the year, and I was just like, now it's a bit cheaper because you got the super motocross package, so maybe I'll pay for the get into the MXGP because like I was talking to Ed, who's like replaced your mate Lewis. So
Yeah, yeah.
Aussie Ed,
Yep.
yeah. And he was talking all this MXGP stuff and that, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you're making me feel bad that I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm going to have to start watching it." So yeah, but Lewis, man, just briefly on Lewis, I like the new show's awesome. I really like
Okay.
it. Yeah, it's really cool, man. I like especially when you're talking different stuff. Yeah, that's really, really fun. And but man, Lewis charging his brother, man, I'm definitely
Dude.
not on board with that. That's
Ah,
terrible.
yeah,
That's
and
terrible, man.
he just keeps doubling down. Like every time I talk to him, he's like, "I want to charge more," and I'm like, "You've lost. Like the Twitter war is
Yeah.
over. No one agrees with you on this." And he's like, "Well, Phil Nicoletti and Jason White can't agree with me," and I'm like,
They're not yeah,
that should not be your point of reference here.
no,
The two
that's not
cheapest men in the pits is not what you should be going after.
that's not, there. Like I always laugh. I enjoy Weege's tight stuff. Because I'm a tight ass, but I'm I'm nowhere near as mean as him. Like I'm a tight ass when it comes to like I will cut. And a lot of this has been through necessity because I've
Mhm.
spent a lot of time with not much money in life. So I will like reverse rear tires to get the sharp edge again. And then
Yeah,
and I will I'm very good at cutting a new sharp edge on a worn tire. Like I'll do things like that. I'll make
yep,
things last, like I'll change, parts on a bike when they absolutely have to be changed, So
yeah.
that's the thing. I got a lot of budget moto tricks, but yeah, some of the things I've seen Weege get up to, I was just like, oh, dude, no, he's not a good example for Lewis to
No,
use as it being okay to charge your brother. So that's
no, yeah. It's crazy to me. Like I've had a couple people stay at my house to start the year, which tends to happen because we got a lot of people coming out to California, and I've never once thought of like charging anybody, even though they're not my family. I don't think of charging them rent. Like, yeah, of course, come stay. Like, let's have some fun for a couple weeks. Like, this is
yeah.
Supercross. If it's your brother, that's even worse. So I don't get it.
Like I sort of think if someone was coming to my house, I'm, I'm getting something from it anyway. I'm getting the
Yeah,
enjoyment of having them there.
yeah,
So that's I want
exactly.
because I'm not letting someone stay at my house if I don't enjoy their company. So I'm getting their company. I mean, So yeah, I don't. For a start, I thought, oh, he's making that up. That's not true, but it sounds
Nope.
like it is true, and that's it. But
No, his brother like literally came over for the most recent episode, and yeah, he detailed everything that he's got to pay for and all this stuff to me, and I'm like, dude, this is not cool. This is really not a good idea, Lewis. But whatever, like, not my family, so you figure it out.
yeah, man, yeah. Jeez, anyway, but yeah, I like the show. It's good. It's a good new sort of Steve, man. It's no surprise that he's always got some new cool thing he's coming up with, isn't he? It's not surprising that he's built the empire that he has. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm glad that people are enjoying it so far for sure, and the idea behind it really was every single Saturday that myself and Lewis and Steve and whoever else is in the press box, we have those types of conversations, and if we
mm,
can get a sliver of that out to the public, man, I think you guys would be laughing your heads off on some of the things that
I'll
we say
bet.
in the press box. So
I'll bet. Yeah, yeah. I imagine the banter and that sort of thing would be pretty funny up there. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah. Oh, just a couple of things I've written down here before. Towards the end of the show, I'll ask you some random questions.
okay,
There's a couple of little things here. Um, when I was in the States, man, every time, so I tried a few fast foods. And every time I drove past a Jack in the Box, which I didn't get to, it made me think of you. every single time. So you'd see that the Jack in the Box argument with you and Steve certainly made an impact. It stuck
Yeah.
in my memory that much. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, that just stems from, I do like Jack in the Box, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
I don't put it on this crazy pedestal. It just happened to be this one text thread that I have with, JT and Chris Betts and Steve, which is like a little baseball chat. They just one day were bringing up top 5 fast food places, and there was all this stipulations of, like, it has to have a drive-through, you can't, like, go in and order and come back out, so, like, that takes, like, Chipotle, which doesn't have drive-throughs out, Five Guys, most of them don't have drive-throughs. So, yeah, Jack in the Box made it in my top 5, but it wasn't my number 1, like, I'm gonna put In and
yeah,
Out and all these other ones way ahead of it, but they just lost it and thought it was ridiculous for putting it in the top 5, but it's good, I like it, I'll stick
yeah.
with it.
It's it's a funny thing, man. Now I just got all I got told by my friends, because I was like, what's like not too unhealthy, and
Mhm.
that's just like and not too expensive. So they sort of said Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out is sort of that's your sort of your base. Go to them,
Yeah.
They're not too unhealthy and they're not too expensive. So I went to them, and then we went to a few others and that. But I had some of the food I had over there that was cool though. Was like, I got authentic Mexican, like we don't have
Oh,
that
yeah.
here. That was really cool. I actually had that in Elsinore. I found a place in Elsinore,
There you go.
and I had chicken and waffles at the stadium, and oh man, geez, it was probably a bad move, man, because like I'm walking around afterwards, I'm like, damn, that's a heart attack in a box. I'm like
Yeah.
sweating, like it was. Had to try chicken and waffles though, because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
we have chicken and we have waffles, but not together. And our waffles are like nowhere near as good as that. It's just like, yeah, yeah,
It's
not very
all the
good.
sugar they pour into the batter. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
and all the syrup and everything. Like it was, yeah,
Mhm.
that was pretty cool. It was an experience, man. Yeah. Another little thing, man. You touched on one of the shows with Lewis. You touched on about etiquette with people's communication over digital communication. That's a big man. That I like that. That's a big thing with me. I get so annoyed um, with bad what do I call it? Yeah, bad message etiquette.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I definitely like that, man. Like I think in now day and age, like if someone sends you something and you just completely ignore it, it's almost like just hanging up on them in the old days. It's
Yeah.
sort of like it's such a commonplace thing. It's like ignoring someone in a conversation or just hanging up on them. Like even just I like even just give me a thumbs up, give me a sorry I'm busy, give
Yeah.
me anything other than just when you see that they've seen it and they've just
Oh,
ignored it. It fucking annoys the shit out of me. So
absolutely, man. That grinds
yeah,
my gears. And you
yeah,
like it's half the time it's a question that's so easy to answer. And I
yeah,
don't care if you say no, you don't have to feel bad telling me that you
yeah,
can't do it or that, you can't say or whatever.
yeah.
But just give me the quick courtesy of yes or no or something.
Just
And
something.
yeah, it grinds my gears for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely on the same page as that, man. Yeah. Few random questions, man. So what is so you got one album to listen to for the rest of your life.
Mm,
What is it, man?
tough. Um, Probably just anything by Rush. Maybe Moving Pictures by Rush would be my go-to. But I also like a lot of 311 albums. I'll
Rush
say
fan. I
Rush.
never picked you for a Rush
Yeah.
fan, man.
Yeah.
That's definitely yeah. That's one I would never. Honestly, man. I thinking about your age and that sort of thing. I would have thought you were like definitely like a metalcore guy. Like
No.
you would have been into and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Rush, man.
I'm I'm
Is
kind of
was
more I was gonna say I'm kind of more into like alternative rock. So like the new age stuff is, I guess like Imagine Dragons is kind of the most popular, more
yeah,
alternative rock band
yeah,
now. But I grew up, my mom was really into like Pink Floyd and stuff like that from the 80s. So I
yeah,
listened to that at the home a lot. And then yeah, just started listening to Rush through listening to some of the things that she listened to and just got hooked on it. Like that was like my high school life. I just blared Rush all day long. So
yeah.
yeah, big into it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's come from your parents, man. So yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I like, you know, I like a few different things, but mostly I like rock, particularly grunge. Like I'm fairly and squarely like exactly the right age to be a grunge fan,
Mhm.
um, and rock. But like my first thing and still my favorite when it's all said and done is AC/DC, and that comes from my dad. Like
There you
my
go.
my kids love AC/DC because of me. Like
Yeah.
AC/DC is a very much it's like a birthright. You have Vegemite on your toast when you're a kid, and your parents listen to AC/DC. Like people from my age and demographic, I guess is very much like you go to an AC/DC concert in Australia, and it's not unusual to see grandparents there with their grandkids. You
Mhm.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's that
Did
sort
you
of
so have you've been to a few concerts, AC/DC?
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm bummed. I was gonna go to the Rush tour. They were doing like a grand 40th tour, and I had a chance to go to one of them, couldn't quite get to it, and I thought like, well, surely they'll play maybe a couple extra shows, like I'll get to something, and then Neil Peart died like the next year, and I'm like, I missed my chance. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
always bummed about that.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah, man. Like, yeah, you never know. Some of these bands they just keep going around and around, and there's a few of my favorite ones. Like I live in the country, man. So, and in general, I'm very much a country person. Like, I'll only go to a city if I really love what's happening there. Like,
Okay.
I'll go to Los Angeles to go to A1, and I can navigate and tolerate a city, but I don't really want to be there.
Yeah.
But and I'm kind of like that with Melbourne. Like Melbourne's a shit of a joint to get around to, especially like Marvel and that world that concerts are. It's like the worst part of Melbourne to get around in. So you'll be if you ever come down to Melbourne Supercross, you'll be right because um, internationals and that it's surrounded by hotels and stuff. So you'll be just
Okay.
walking
Yeah.
and you think, oh, this is easy to get around. But when you're driving in there, it's a prick of a joint.
I was gonna say, do you guys have those scooters that you like pay and you can ride around everywhere? Because that's the thing in cities these days. Everybody
That
rides those little pay
Yeah,
scooters.
they do have it. Yes, they do have them in Melbourne. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know where to get them or whatever because I got to drive anyway, so I just
Yeah.
drive and pay the fortune to park at the stadium and all that sort of thing. But yeah, so that sort of puts me off going to concerts, and also ticket prices for concerts in Australia are crazy as well.
Mm,
Like cost of living here is pretty crazy.
yeah.
That's one thing I like. I know California is supposed to be expensive, man. Like I was real happy when I was fueling up the Dodge minivan. I was real happy about how much I was paying because it's about
Oh,
half of what I'm paying here. So
wow.
yeah,
No,
seriously,
it's
even if you do all the maths and conversions and all that,
yeah.
it's about half what I'm paying here.
Wow.
So
That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's very expensive here compared to like Redbud or somewhere in the middle of the country. Something like that is cheap gas for
yeah,
sure.
well, like I drive a Holden Colorado, which is exactly the same as a Chevy Colorado.
Heavy, yep.
There's the steering wheels on the other side, and it's got a badge with a lion on it instead of the Chevy bow tie. And it usually costs me about if like a full tank of fuel will cost me about $160. So, so that's
Yeah,
uh,
no. That's a lot.
it's crazy, and that's like that's usually for about 65 liters, which is what like 11 gallons, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's damn expensive here. Yeah,
Goodness.
and food and like a lot of things, especially because Australia's pretty isolated.
Yeah.
COVID really smacked us on cost of living
Mhm.
because anything that had to travel here, so basically, and a lot of it wasn't just it cost more to get here. Just supply and demand drove the price up on
Yeah.
sort of everything. And and that drove the price up on fuel. So a lot of Australia runs on trucks. It's a big place, a lot of open spaces, and everything's far apart. So fuel, diesel went up, shipping goes up.
Jeez.
Everything sort of cost of living sort of doubled here in a couple of years. So,
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
so that was yeah, it was pretty crazy. And but I mean, yeah, we still just we're, honestly, man, they're still grateful, man. Still a great country, and there's a lot of people a lot worse off than us, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm always
A
still
good attitude about it for sure, because
always still
the
very
people
grateful.
here would be livid with those prices.
Yeah,
They would riot.
yeah, yeah. It's sort of one of those things. Like, what can you do? Like, like
Yeah.
you got to still get around. You got to still eat and all that. So
Oh, yeah.
and I mean, it's relevant to some extent because we like I have a one man construction business, so my prices had to go up. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
my customers are paying, well, not double, but a lot more because I
Right.
just had to keep putting my prices up so I could earn a living. So it's all sort of all relevant, I guess. And I guess wages probably had to go up for people on a wage and that sort of thing. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey, who is now? I reckon I'll see if the trend continues. Who is your celebrity hall pass? So who
Celebrity hall pass,
Mrs.
huh?
Brauer? Mrs. Brauer gives you a hall pass for one like celebrity girl. Who is that?
Oh man, that's also a good question. I mean, I feel like I'm a big Friends fan, so I'm like inclined to say like Jennifer Aniston, but she's obviously a fair bit older than me.
That nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, still probably. Yeah, I'll say that because
I
like
I like it,
mid
man.
'90s Jennifer Aniston is a vibe for
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
I,
So
I reckon. I reckon 2024 Jennifer
yeah,
Aniston.
yeah, still
So yeah,
packing
man.
it. Yeah.
No, I can totally respect that. I thought you were going to go with Margot Robbie because just about everybody that comes on who's in their 30s says Margot Robbie. So that's
I mean, yeah, she is good, but I don't really watch like a whole lot of like brand new movies, so
yeah,
I haven't seen a whole lot with her in it, but yeah, I can see why
yeah.
people say her for sure.
Movies, man. Like I watched like on the flights. I watched about 6 or 7 movies, and that'd be more movies than I've watched in the last 3 years. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm not a huge sort of movie guy. Yeah, like I said earlier on, I'm not much good at sitting down. So yeah, but
yeah.
when you're on a plane, crossing the
Can't move.
Pacific, and it's both my flights were night flights too.
Mm.
So you can't read, so I watched a lot of movies, and then when we were allowed to put the windows up and the light came in the plane and all that, then I read, so I got to actually catch up on all the reading that I normally don't get time to do as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
that
that's
was
great.
pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Hey, one more question. This one's the probably the weirdest of the lot. What's your spirit animal?
Spirit animal, huh? So I raced track and field and cross country in high school, so I would say something like a cheetah, something fast. Like I
Fast.
just yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I like the idea of just like really being quick, sneaky quick, aloof a little bit like that. So yeah, probably cheetah.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Does Weege know how fast you are on your feet? You probably
I
don't want
don't
it. Don't let him
I
know,
don't know.
man.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is, like the two people that directly work under Weege are me and then my coworker Mitch. So I run
Yeah.
like the video side of RacerX, and Mitch runs like the web side of RacerX, like the online site. Um, and we both ran track and field in high school, and he ended up playing football in college. But um, he we hired two athletic, skinny dudes that run well, apparently, to to run the show for him a little bit. Kind of
Uh,
random.
yeah, because I was going to say, don't let him know because I can see him taking advantage of that. He'd be like, oh, we need to get something from, across the across the pits at an outdoor. And it's like, oh, Callan's fast. He'll be able to make it. He'll be sending you
I
on
mean,
high speed trips across the pits.
yeah, there have definitely been times that I've had to sprint from point A to point B to grab an interview or something like that, or to make it to something on time, a press conference or whatever. So it comes in handy still having some good legs under me.
Always remember the weed show where he was talking about he was busting to pee and he had to get out and with his crook knee he's
Yeah.
got his crook knee and he's stepping over cables and all this sort of stuff trying to get out and get back during the commercial break. That was always reminds me of that. That was
Yep.
funny. That's
Yep.
the weed show, man. That's a classic. That's
Oh yeah.
yeah. That's
Good content for sure.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's the go, man. So what do we got? We're probably nearly done enough time there, I reckon, man. Nearly held you up for long enough. Um, yeah. So what we do, a couple of little things I do to wrap up the show. So first one is give me your best Aussie accent.
Aussie accent. Can you give me a sentence to say? Maybe if I had a sentence to say.
Oh, let me think of what's an iconic one.
How you going, mate? Or something like that.
Dude, that's actually pretty good. Run that again. Just run that again.
How you going, mate?
Jeez, man, that's pretty. I reckon yours the best so far. That's
All
the
right.
best.
Okay.
That's the best so far. That was pretty damn good. Yeah, you had the twang going there. Yeah, the
I
Aussie
know that
twang.
the
Yeah.
common thing that like Americans do is they like talk really with their mouth, like they're like, "Oh, how you doing, mate?" or whatever. But I don't know.
Over
I've tried to.
overdo it.
Whenever I've had to do an Australian accent before, I've always been mindful of that and like try to
When have
think
you had
about
to
it.
do an Aussie accent before? Like, when
Um,
does that come up?
I sometimes have done impressions of like Aussie, like Chad Reed or something like that, doing interviews. And so I've done that before as like a little bit of comedy skit sometimes for people
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
with. So that's a couple of times that I've had to do it, I guess.
Good, good. You should do more of that, man. Get that happening. You should get if you're good at that, man, get that happening. Taking the piss out of. I reckon Hunter would be a good one to I reckon, yeah, do because Hunter, he says he says some funny things and that sort of thing.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, man. Cool.
All right, good. I'm number one on the board for Aussie accents then.
Yeah, you are so far, man. Yeah, yeah. Hey, do you have any questions of me or anything that you want to touch upon before we wrap the show up?
No, I mean I'm just very thankful that you asked me to come on the show, and very much appreciated that you think of me high enough to also call up and ask a little bit of my story and stuff like that. So very, very much appreciated that. What we got to get you back out here though. I want to see you ride a California track. Now that you've been out here, you've seen them. Like we gotta line this up to get you actually on a California track out here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like like being able to afford it. It's always been the thing for me, and
Mhm.
like when I was first planning to go. So basically, I worked a heap of overtime
Okay.
to to pay for it, and it's sort of you can't. I worked a lot harder than I can sustain working. Like I worked my guts
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
to make the money for the flights. But then I was lucky enough that my trip was a lot more pleasurable and easy because a bunch of my friends from the US ended up sneakily PayPaling me
Mm.
about nearly half of what the flights cost back into my account suddenly. So
Wow.
because
Did you
we're
stay with them too?
so I sort of moved around,
Yeah.
but nah, because none of the a lot of the main event fans from all over the country, there's no or at least NorCal, no one sort of lives in SoCal, so
Yeah.
there wasn't sort of a place to stay.
Okay.
But one of the guys, he got a B&B that had room for me, stay
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But yeah, so they did help me out. I never paid. I don't reckon I paid for a beer, and I had more than my fair share while I was there. I don't think I ever paid for a beer the whole time I was there. The buggers, and not through lack of trying. It's just like
Yeah.
I just kept getting handed beers. I never got a chance to pay for a meal, so that my
Yeah.
friends over there really looked after me. I was forever grateful for that. But so like coming back, I was sort of like, don't be like, oh, that was a trip of a lifetime. Maybe I'll get to do it again. I've been saying to myself, nah, I'll be able to go back next year. I didn't take my US cash back. I've left it because I was like, I'll use that next year. I'm just sort of having a mindset that I'll be able to get back. So
Yeah.
you never know what happens. But my mindset is that, yeah, I want to go back next year. So if I do, might try and stay just a little bit longer, have a few more weekdays and that sort of thing. And, like maybe try and hang with Toolman Dan. He's always got a spare bike, so and because he was doing a bit of riding around. He was
Yeah. Yeah.
riding Glen Helen when I went out there to
Oh yeah.
went out there, sort of surprised him out there, and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, if
And
you make it back out, you'll have to let me know for sure, and I'll swing out there, and we'll all hang out, and we'll see what you
yeah,
got on
man,
the racetrack a little bit.
yeah, it's not good. Like I say, it shows how much I love riding that I'm a 47-year-old who's never been out of C grade. So like, it shows how much I love it because I'm just not good at it. But
Yeah.
like I'm one of these guys I'm fit on the bike. I keep fit. So like my first lap is the same pace as like my lap at the end of the day. I'm
Mhm,
just like
mhm.
slow and steady. I've got no sprint speed whatsoever, but just love doing it. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, that's the go there. Yeah, and I was trying to actually trying to meet your guy Kiefer while I was over there, but and I even went to the high des I'd spent a day at Hesperia and that sort of thing, but he
Yeah,
wasn't about and that sort of thing. Never worked out, but he's someone I'd certainly like to meet, and he was great. Like Kiefer's communication for a guy who gets a lot of communication is fantastic, man. He's
yeah,
like emails and all. He's just such a good dude.
yeah.
Um, and even at one stage, he said, "Oh, if come and ride the desert with us and that sort of thing." And I was like, "Wow, how good's this guy?" And that'd be great.
Yeah, right.
But also too, like there was a lot of people I wanted to meet while I was there. People that I've messaged and emailed and or even talked to. But it's like the busiest few days of the year for these
It
people.
is.
Like
Yeah.
like I know Dark Side a little bit, and he was at the stadium. We just couldn't even make it work because he's so busy. But
Yep.
I was totally understanding of that too, like because it's like, like I said, like me in construction, it'd be like trying to get hold of me the last week before Christmas when
Yeah.
everybody's needs their house perfect for Christmas Day because the world's going to end. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the world's going to end if their house isn't perfect on when the family comes for Christmas. Or that sort
Right.
of week, it's just like, that'd be like
Mhm.
that week for the motor media guys. So that was cool, man. But yeah, I would love to do a couple of laps of some of those iconic tracks, man. That'd be super cool.
Oh,
Super
yeah,
cool. Look out,
definitely.
there's my dog barking, making his
Oh,
presence
man.
known. That's
I
that.
think I heard the roosters in the background. You got a
Oh
farm
yeah,
going on there too, or
I
what?
know, man. So I wish I'd love to, but no, I have a pet rooster. I'll send you some info. My pet rooster's kind of famous. So
Okay, alright.
my pet rooster is
Is that
there's
him
a little.
behind you there on the wall?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There's a story about the rooster. So
Okay, alright.
and he's not that close, but he's loud. So every podcast, the roosters always go in the background, and there is a bit of a story behind that. So
Okay.
I'll um, I'll send you a link to check out He's even got his own Instagram page.
Oh,
The Colonel. He's called the
the
Colonel.
Colonel.
The
Wow,
Colonel. Yeah.
that's
Um,
great.
Cool, man. Couple of things I want to touch on. I don't like to end on a sad note, but there's a couple of sad things I feel I need to just touch on. Um, and then we'll have a bit of fun at the very end of the show. Aussie legend Anthony Gobert. I don't know the details. He passed away just a couple of days ago.
Yep,
Very sad. I know he's the brother of Alex Gobert, who is an
yep.
Aussie media guy. So condolences to Alex and any of Anthony's friends and family. Anthony was a child moto prodigy. He's about probably exactly my age. I've got magazines over here with him. Growing up, it was him and Kim Ashkenazi. So Gobert, go, Gobert, as they used to say, was on the KX80, Ashkenazi on the RM80. This is like 89, 90, 91 sort of thing.
Mhm.
They were the child prodigies of moto. And then Kim went on to a senior career. And Anthony, he sort of won everything really quickly on big bikes and then went to road racing and had a great career riding super bikes. So really sad for his family. So ride in peace to Go Gobert. And the other one, so Daniel Blair was at a arena cross just a week ago. and a gentleman by the name of Mike Walker lost his life. There is a GoFundMe running for Mike's family, his wife and children. I don't know how to share GoFundMe links and all that sort of thing properly, but I've looked it up. And if you look up Mike Walker and then like hashtag 54, must have been his name, his number, is very easy to find. Go in there and donate. The moto community always does get around things like this. So you guys, go and do what we always do and help out that family in such a tough time. So
yeah, definitely. Rest in peace to both.
Rest in right in peace is what I always
Right in
say.
peace. Yeah, that's
right in peace to Mike as well. So yeah, cool, man. So to wind up the show, I do a bit of a sing along. There's no commitment to it.
Okay, what do we got?
A lot of people don't like it. Do you know Kenny Rogers, the gambler?
Ah, man, it sounds familiar, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Cool, man. All right, so I'm just going to slide into a verse. We don't do the whole song, just a little bit.
Okay.
Slide into a verse. When I get to the chorus, if you know it, just jump in and have a crack. If you don't, it's all good. So that's
Will do. Right. Will do.
All right, man. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Yeah. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the deal is done. That's all right, man. You figured out a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit.
See if you can learn. I definitely want to get you back on the show at some stage. So see if you
all right, I will learn it. We'll sing it along together at the end next time.
That's it, man. That's it, man. All right. Thank you very much, Kellen, for coming on the outside gate. And thank you to anybody who has listened.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.